Hello friends, welcome to Manu Law Classes. Today in this video we are going to discuss the important news from the Hindu edition of 13th March 2023. So let's start with the news. The first news is about the same-sex union. So here the union government it has filed its response in the Supreme Court through an affidavit. So it is saying that a union between a biological man and woman is a holy union, a sacrament and a sanskar in India. So यहाँ पे जो union government का affidavit है, they are focusing on the institution of marriage. So they are saying that the institution of marriage it has a sanctity attached to it, and in major parts of the country it is regarded as a sacrament, a holy union. So they are saying that in our country, despite statutory recognition of the relationship of a marriage between a biological man and a biological woman, marriage necessarily depends upon age-old custom, rituals, practices, cultural ethos and societal values. So here, तो यहाँ पे जो सेम सेक्स मैरिज को लेके जो बात चल रही है, तो यहाँ पे the government is emphasizing on marriage as an institution, its role in a society. Okay, so यहाँ पे the government is now saying that any deviation from this statutorily, religiously and socially accepted norm in human relationship can only happen through the legislature and not the Supreme Court. So यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ने ये बात भी क्लियर किया है कि any changes, ठीक है ना, मतलब कि marriage as an institution, okay, so it can happen only through legislature, that is parliament and not the Supreme Court, right? यहाँ पर अगर आप देखेंगे तो ये affidavit has been filed in response to the court's decision to examine the petitions to allow solemnization of same-sex marriage under Special Marriage Act 1954. Now, what is the Special Marriage Act 1954? It provides a civil form of marriage for couples who cannot marry under their personal law. ठीक है, जो कपल्स हैं जो अपने पर्सनल लॉ के अंडर मैरी नहीं कर सकते, ओके, सो दे कैन मैरी अंडर द स्पेशल मैरिज एक्ट ऑफ 1954. अब यहाँ पे देखिए जो एक इम्पॉर्टेंट केस है, दैट इज नवतेज सिंह जोहर वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया. It was pronounced by the Supreme Court in 2018, where the court had decriminalized the sexual intercourse between the same-sex person. Okay, so here the government is saying that in this case, the Navtej Singh Johar case, it was the decriminalization of sexual intercourse, that is consensual sexual intercourse between the same-sex person, but it has not legitimized the conduct. Okay, so these are the important points related to same-sex union, the argument which is going on in the Supreme Court. Fine, so today we are reading the argument provided by the government of India. So now let's move to the page number 10. Now see on the page number 10, again we are taking that issue. The court, while decriminalizing homosexuality, had never accepted same-sex marriage as a part of the fundamental right to life and dignity under Article 21 of the Constitution. So it said that statutory recognition of heterosexual marriage was a norm throughout history and is foundational to both the existence and continuance of the state. So this is the response of the government in the Supreme Court. Now see another thing. So government is saying that a same-sex marriage cannot be compared to a man and woman living as a family with children born out of the union. So living together as partners and having sexual relationship by same-sex individual is not comparable with the Indian family unit concept of a husband, wife and children. Then the second point the government says is that registration of marriage of same-sex persons would also result in violation of existing personal as well as codified law provisions. Okay. The next is the government said that there was a compelling interest for the society and the state to limit recognition to heterosexual marriages only. Now coming to the next news, Silicon Valley Bank contagion may leave India unscathed, says Finance Ministry officials. So US में एक बैंक है which has failed recently, that is Silicon Valley Bank. Okay, so यहाँ पे now what is contagion? In economic terms, contagion means spilling over of any incident, okay, or anything which is happening in the other part of the country. For example, the bank is failing in US, so it might have impact on other countries including India. So that is called as contagion, that is spillover effect. Okay, spillover effect of any economic decisions or any economic incidents which have happened. Okay, that is called as contagion. So यहाँ पे जो finance ministry है, it is saying that it will not have any effect on India. Fine, the only thing which can happen is what the government is saying is that if this trouble spread, the resultant flight to safety among global investors could hit capital flow into emerging markets such as India, and it can impact the rupee. So it is saying that if this trouble spread, that is after the failure of the bank. So अगर आप देखेंगे Silicon Valley Bank, so it is the failure of the Silicon Valley Bank is the largest failure of any bank after 2008 financial crisis. So definitely it can trigger systemic risks across the world, okay, which can be called as contagion. But here the government is saying that if it spreads, then it can lead to flight of capital. Okay, that is the investors who are investing in the capital market in India, they can pull out their money and they can invest in a safe markets. Okay, so that can impact the rupee, because it can cause the depreciation of rupee. The next is the government is saying that largely the failure of the Silicon Valley Bank, it can hit some Indian tech startups and IT firms for now, but any broader effect may arise will neither reach Indian shores in a hurry nor are likely to have a systemic risks in India. Now the next is, there is one festival which is celebrated in Indore on the occasion of Rang Panchami, that is called as Gair, Gair. So it is celebrated in Indore in Madhya Pradesh. Now here the district administration of Indore has sought the Gair's inclusion in UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage. ठीक है, जैसे कि आप देखेंगे वेस्ट बंगाल का दुर्गा पूजा जो है, इट इज ऑलरेडी इन दिस लिस्ट, दैट इज यूनेस्को लिस्ट ऑफ इनटेंजिबल कल्चरल हेरिटेज. The next is a video alleging attack on migrant workers in Tamil Nadu shot in Patna, says Bihar police. So this incident, okay, देखिए यहाँ पे फेक वीडियो का कॉन्सेप्ट है कि फेक वीडियो से या फेक न्यूज से देखिए क्या प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है. तो यहाँ पे एक इकोनॉमिक ऑफेंस यूनिट जो है बिहार पुलिस का, दे हैव लॉन्च्ड एन एफआईआर अगेंस्ट मनीष कश्यप, ओके, फॉर शेयरिंग अ फेक वीडियो ऑफ एलिज्ड अटैक ऑन माइग्रेंट्स फ्रॉम बिहार इन तमिलनाडु. तो यहाँ पे पुलिस का कहना है कि ये जो वीडियो था इसको पटना में ही बनाया गया, ठीक है. बाद में ये वीडियो वायरल हुआ, कॉजिंग पैनिक. फाइन, सो दैट्स व्हाई द पर्संस हैव बीन अरेस्टेड ओवर हियर. द नेक्स्ट इज सेफ हार्बर एट रिस्क. तो ये फ्रेंड्स, ये जो न्यूज़ है हम बहुत दिनों से करते आ रहे हैं. हमने कुछ दिन पहले पढ़ा था सेक्शन 230 ऑफ यूएस कम्युनिकेशन डिसेंसी एक्ट, जो यहाँ पे मेंशन्ड भी है. देन वी आल्सो डिड आईटी एक्ट 2000, आईटी एक्ट 2000, उसमें जो सेक्शन 79 है, ओके. सो सेक्शन 230 एंड आईटी एक्ट जो इंडिया का है सेक्शन 79, दे बोथ आर रिलेटेड टू सेफ हार्बर. दे बोथ आर रिलेटेड टू सेफ हार्बर. नाउ व्हाट इज दिस सेफ हार्बर क्लॉज? इसको कहते हैं हम सेफ हार्बर क्लॉज. तो सेफ हार्बर क्लॉज का मतलब हो गया कि द सोशल मीडिया इंटरमीडियरीज, दे आर नॉट रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर अ थर्ड पार्टी कंटेंट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, टेक द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ सपोज यूट्यूब, ठीक है. अब यूट्यूब पे किसी ने फेक वीडियो डाल दिया, ठीक है, या कोई ऐसा वीडियो विच इज स्प्रेडिंग दिस इंफॉर्मेशन. सो हियर दिस फेक वीडियो हैज बीन अपलोडेड बाय अ यूजर. So in this case, YouTube will not be liable for promoting this fake video, but the user which has uploaded this video, they will be liable. So that is called a safe harbor clause. So it is provided by the section 230 of the US Communication Act 1996 and also the section 79 of IT Act 2000. Now why it is in news? Because recently the Minister of State for IT, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, okay, while he was proposing the outline of Digital India Act 2023, he has said that there should be a revisit to the safe harbor clause for all social media intermediaries. Now in India we will see that a rule which has been introduced, that is IT rules 2021, which has been amended also in October 2022, which provides for government appointed committees that will adjudicate on an individual user's appeal against moderation decisions of these intermediaries. So already we have a rule which has tinkered with the safe harbor clause and which provides for the social media intermediaries for moderation of those content which is violative or which is spreading disinformation and which has been flagged by the users for special. Okay, this has come in the wake that in January 2023 also you will see that there was an amendment on the takedown of social media news content that has been marked as fake or false by the Press Information Bureau. Okay. The next is a new reality. Saudi Arabia, Iran should be mindful of pitfalls ahead while seeking a cold peace. तो यहाँ पे देखिए हमने सैटरडे को एक न्यूज़ किया था कि एक चाइना मेडिएटेड डील हुआ है बिटवीन सऊदी अरेबिया एंड ईरान. ओके, सऊदी अरेबिया एंड ईरान, where they are going to re-establish their diplomatic relationship after 2016. If you will see Saudi Arabia and Iran, they are arch rival. Saudi Arabia is a Sunni country, Iran is a Shia country, and then in the geopolitics of Middle East, they largely support the opposing parties. I told you last time the example of Yemen. तो Yemen में मैंने आपको बताया था कि Houthi rebels, okay, there are Houthi rebels which are supported by Iran, and the government forces are supported by Saudi Arabia. Fine. So now the Saudi-Iran reconciliation has taken place by China brokered agreement, okay, which reflects the new reality in West Asia. Fine. So if you will see that in 2020, the UAE, that is United Arab Emirates, it became the first Arab country to normalize ties with Israel. Then following year, they saw the Arab world and Israel, they faced with common Iran challenge. They started deepening their cooperation despite Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory. Now I told you what is one of the reason that it is going on in Middle East politics. The thing is withdrawal of US. So since the US is withdrawing, it has deprioritized West Asia. So now the former allies of USA in West Asia, they are looking for solutions for, for the security guarantees concerning the volatile political conditions over there. So now this has been filled up by the China. Okay. Now see why China is interested in the Middle East. So if you will see that stability in West Asia is very important for China, which is a major energy resource for China. So China, it is the world's largest oil importer. Okay. Now US, it has hostile ties with Iran, but Beijing, it enjoys good ties with both Tehran as well as Riyadh. You already know that Iran has recently become the member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. After that, if you will see that Saudi Arabia, it is undergoing rapid changes. It wants peace in its neighborhood. Okay, that is a leading buyer and trading partner. Fine. So this has put China in a unique position to bring two of the region's most significant powers closer. Okay, but यहाँ पे अब देखिए एक प्रॉब्लम है. अगर आप देखेंगे सऊदी अरेबिया और ईरान का जो राइवलरी है, it is multi-layered. Okay, so today they have agreed for reconciliation, but tomorrow, given the volatile politics in Middle East, again there should not be a confrontation in the region. The next is adultery as a misconduct and judicial musings. Now, in order to understand this article, you have to understand Article 33 of the Constitution. ठीक है ना? तो Article 33 of the Constitution में actually एक exception है for armed forces and other services. So if you will see the Article 33 of the Constitution, so it says that the Parliament has power to modify the rights conferred by Part 3. मतलब Part 3 में जो fundamental rights है उसको modify कर सकता है Parliament for the application to forces such as member of armed forces, member of forces charged with maintenance of public order like police, persons employed in any bureau or other organization established by state for intelligence or counterintelligence, or person employed or in connection with the telecommunication system set for the purpose of any force, bureau or organization. It means people who are in armed forces or security forces or police, for them the rights which have been mentioned under fundamental rights, that can be modified by the parliament. Fine. But यहाँ पे अगर आप देखेंगे तो यहाँ पे if you will see that there is a caveat. Caveat का मतलब एक condition है. ये rights को modify किया जा सकता है so as to ensure the proper discharge of their duties and the maintenance of discipline among them. ठीक है ना? What is the purpose of modifying the fundamental rights for armed forces, police and intelligence personnel? To ensure proper discharge of their duties and the maintenance of discipline among them. It means that if the person who is employed in armed forces or police, if they are doing something in their personal capacity which is not harming their discharge of duties or maintenance of discipline, okay, so will that also be modified? That is the question which has been discussed over here. So over here we are talking about actually adultery. ठीक है, adultery. So the adultery which is covered under section 497 of the Indian Penal Code, it was decriminalized. Okay, it was removed from the statute by a very landmark judgment called as Joseph Sain versus Union of India. So it held that section 497 of the Indian Penal Code along with section 198 of the Criminal Procedure to be unconstitutional on the premise that it violates Article 14, Article 15 and Article 21 of the Constitution of India. इसका मतलब कि adultery, okay, which was a criminal offense defined under section 497, now it has been removed from the statute book. Fine. Now the government, okay, was aggrieved by this order concerning its implementation in armed forces. अब देखो इसको statute book से हटा दिया गया, but armed forces के लिए, ठीक है, armed forces के लिए क्या ये रखना चाहिए या नहीं रखना चाहिए? So the government was aggrieved by this order Okay, for the implementation in armed forces, the Union of India has sought clarification from the court saying that any adulterous act should be allowed to be governed by the relevant sections of the Army Act, Air Force Act and Navy Act because they are being passed under Article 33 of the Constitution. So यहाँ पे the government stand is that adultery in armed forces should be regulated by the respective acts because this has been made under Article 33 of the Constitution, which empowers the Parliament to modify the Part 3 of the Constitution. Fine. So यहाँ पे क्या हुआ कि the court has said that it was not at all concerned with the effect and operation of the relevant provisions, and it is not as if this court approved of adultery. The court added that if found adultery as a moral wrong and means that is civil wrong, not a criminal wrong, and is ground for securing dissolution of marriage. Fine. अब यहाँ पे अगर आप देखेंगे तो दो important cases भी डिस्कस हुए हैं, that is महेश चंद्र शर्मा वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ राजस्थान एंड अदर्स. यहाँ पे क्या हुआ कि एक पर्सन था हुआ सर्विंग इन द राजस्थान पुलिस. ही हैड इलिसिट रिलेशन विद वन वुमन कांस्टेबल एंड इट आल्सो हैड गॉट चाइल्ड फ्रॉम दैट इलिसिट रिलेशनशिप. तो एक डिपार्टमेंटल प्रोसीडिंग्स इनके अगेंस्ट चालू हो गया. ओके, the Rajasthan High Court held that no employer can be allowed to do moral policing on its employees which go beyond the domain of his public life, and personal choices and selections cannot be a subject matter of departmental proceedings under the service conduct rules. ठीक है. उसके बाद दूसरा केस है गुजरात का, महेश भाई भुर्जी भाई दामोर वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात, वेयर द गुजरात हाई कोर्ट हैज क्वैश्ड and set aside the dismissal order of an armed police constable, okay, who had an illicit relationship with the widow which amounted to misconduct. So यहाँ पे है कि the court held that in order to prove misconduct, allegations must have some nexus, direct or indirect, with the duties to be performed by the government servant. मतलब कि अगर आप किसी को misconduct के basis पे निकालना चाहते हैं because that person has had an illicit relationship, okay, fine, so it should have a connection with this clause which has been mentioned under Article 33, that is to ensure proper discharge of their duties and maintenance of discipline among them. मतलब कि क्या ये violate हुआ है, ठीक है, it should have a relationship with that, otherwise the departmental proceeding should not go on. Fine. So यहाँ पे देखिए जो the author is saying that a common thread running through all the relevant judgment that of Supreme Court and High Court is that if the conduct interferes directly or indirectly with the honest discharge of duties, such conduct may be considered as unbecoming of a government servant. यहाँ पे it says the legislative intent of Article 33 of the Constitution is also similar. Therefore, the sacrosanct right to privacy available to the members of armed forces cannot be taken away under the guise of special legislation unless it has some nexus with their duties. Okay, means it should have some relation with the caveat which has been mentioned under Article 33, that is to ensure the proper discharge of their duties and the maintenance of discipline among them. The next is ESG. Okay, ESG का full form पहले देख लो, that is environmental, social and governance considerations, ESG. ठीक है. तो यहाँ पर आप देखेंगे कि ESG मतलब कि कंपनी का परफॉर्मेंस क्या है on the environmental, social and governance scale. Okay. So यहाँ पे है कि जो evolution of ESG laws and regulation है in India, it is still at a very early stage. Okay, where the focus is often on providing protections regarding the environment or workplace conditions without also incorporating the controls and disclosure that are hallmark of contemporary ESG regulation. But India, if you will see, there is one concept which is called as CSR. Now, what is CSR? That is corporate social responsibility. So, in India, under corporate social responsibility, that is under Companies Act of 2013, which has been amended twice in 2014 and 2021. Companies which has a net worth of rupees 500 crore or a minimum turnover of rupees 1000 crore or a net profit of rupees 5 crore, they have to spend at least 2% of their net profit over the preceding 3 years on CSR activities, that is corporate social responsibility activities. Okay, so यहाँ पर आप CSR activities देखोगे तो there are very broad activities like supporting the protection of historical important sites and promoting safe drinking water, etc. But if you will see the ESG regulations, that is environmental, social and governance regulations in UK. So the UK Modern Slavery Act requires companies with business in UK and with annual sale of more than £36 million to publish the efforts they have taken to identify and analyze the risk of human trafficking, child labor, debt bondage in their supply chain, establish internal accountability procedures, evaluate supplier compliance and to train supply chain managers regarding these issues. तो ये एक एग्जाम्पल है कि देखिए कैसे ESG गाइडलाइंस बाकी देशों में किस तरीके से इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाता है कि जहाँ पे कंपनी को ये बताना होता है कि पर्टिकुलर एक्ट के अंदर इस कंपनी ने क्या क्या स्टेप्स लिए हैं। फाइन। अब इंडिया में अगर हम बात करें तो हमारे इंडिया में भी ऐसे बहुत सारे एनेबलिंग एक्ट्स हैं, लाइक एनवायरमेंटल प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट 1986, ओके, नेशनल ग्रीन ट्राइब्यूनल, लेबर कोड्स, then laws governing employee engagement and corporate governance practices. Fine. So these laws and bodies, they provide environmental and social safeguards, but new initiatives in India can be adopted that what corporates are doing about the ESG requirements, okay, and how they are preparing themselves for implementing these laws. Then see what are the implications for Indian companies. So see, compliance with ESG regulations both originating in India and elsewhere pose a significantly different challenge than India's CSR regulations. जैसे कि देखिए, compliance by Indian companies with ESG regulations of US, UK, European Union will be critical if India is to take full advantage of the growing decoupling from China and playing a more prominent role in global supply chain and global marketplace overall. ठीक है, जैसे कि अगर आप देखेंगे कि इसको हम लोग कहते हैं स्टैंडर्ड्स. व्हाट आर द स्टैंडर्ड्स? ठीक है. So if Indian companies also follow ESG regulations, so these companies can very well adapt themselves with the global supply chain, okay, across the world. So see, this is the last line. See, what is the benefit of ESG for Indian companies? So see, though it is in a nascent stage in India, but companies that wish to maximize their opportunities in the global economy, they need to embrace these new requirements and adjust their organizations accordingly. The next is Rajasthan's Right to Health Bill. So recently, Rajasthan Assembly has introduced the bill that is called as Right to Health Bill. So it has not been passed, but if it is passed, it will provide mandatory free and affordable medical services in hospitals, clinics and laboratories, both public and privately owned. Then यहाँ पे private hospital doctors object to the bill, citing it is hastily drafted, ignores ground realities and may tighten norms in already over-regulated field. Now see what is there in this bill. So देखिए, the bill provides rights to patients and healthcare providers, places the obligation on the government to protect these legal rights, and mandates the setting up of grievance redressal mechanism. फाइन. सो राजस्थान में जो रेसिडेंट्स होंगे दे विल बी एंटाइटल टू फ्री चेकअप्स, ड्रग्स, डायग्नोस्टिक्स, इमरजेंसी ट्रांसपोर्ट केयर एंड एट पब्लिक हेल्थ इंस्टीट्यूट्स एंड अफोर्डेबल सर्जरीज. उसके बाद अगर आप देखेंगे दैट मेडिकल सर्विस एज अ पब्लिक सर्विस, ओके, सो मेडिकल सर्विस नाउ विल बी काउंटेड एज अ मेडिकल service and the annual expenditure will be rupees 14.5 crore on this bill. Then it also gives certain rights to the state residents, which is 20 rights, that each residents they are entitled to right to informed consent, to seek information regarding diagnosis and treatment, receive treatment without discrimination. Then clause 4 of the bill shifts the burden of responsibility in providing adequate medical services to the government. So it means that government is obliged to provide funds, set up institutions and constitute grievance redressal system. Okay. Now let's talk about the constitution. So if you will see that in constitution, right to health is not explicitly defined, but it is derived from article 21. Then in DPSP, there are two articles which talks about it. Article 38, that is promoting the welfare of people, and article 47, which directs the government for meeting the requirement of nutrition and health requirements of the population. Now who is opposing this bill? So see, private healthcare providers, okay, they are saying that who will fund the mandatory free of cost emergency treatment that has not been provided in the bill. Okay. The next is defense. INS Sahyadri joins maritime exercise with French Navy. तो यहाँ पे देखिए ये वन लाइनर्स होते हैं. So यहाँ पे जो Navy's guided missile frigate INS Sahyadri has joined two frontline warship of France in carrying out a 2-day maritime partnership exercise in Arabian Sea. तो यहाँ पे फ्रेंच नेवी का अगर आप देखेंगे तो मिस्त्राल क्लास शिप FS Dixit and LA F8 class FS Le F8 has been the part of this exercise. Now then, India Australia for early conclusion of pact on market access. So we are talking about KECA. We already have ETCA, that is Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, called as ACTA, which was concluded last year. And now we are going to, these two countries are looking to upgrade this relationship, trade relationship, to comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. Then India and Australia, they are part of Quad, okay, and then Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, okay, for prosperity. They are also part of this. They are also part of G20, and they will also collaborate at World Trade Organization. coming to a very important news, more buildings set to achieve net zero waste. So here we are talking about initiative of Union Housing and Urban Affairs Ministry. So they are going to send a directive likely by March end to all state governments to incorporate net zero requirement in the building bylaws and ensure implementation. So what will be there in this? So there will be a new norms for all the upcoming housing and commercial complexes where there should be net zero waste. Means there will be a focus on reuse, recycle, okay, and then treatment of waste before disposal. So यहाँ पर अगर आप देखेंगे that will be net zero waste and liquid discharge treated as per the union government push for reforming and modernizing the sewage disposal systems. Now see, if you will see the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 6.3, Sustainable Development Goal 6, it is related with water and sanitation. तो इसमें जो 6.3 एक गोल है which says halving the proportion of untreated wastewater and substantially increasing recycling and safe use globally by 2030. ठीक है, बट अगर आप इंडिया का स्टेटस देखें तो इंडिया करेंटली जनरेट 72,368 मिलियन लीटर्स ऑफ अर्बन वेस्ट वाटर पर डे एंड ओनली 28% इज ट्रीटेड. The next is Sunak, Biden and Albanese to meet in San Diego to finalize AUKUS deal. So we already know that AUKUS, which was announced earlier, okay, it is a trilateral security partnership of Australia, UK and US, where Australia will be supplied with nuclear powered ballistic submarine. So UK Prime Minister, okay, then Australia and then US, they are going to finalize the deal to provide nuclear powered submarine to Australia. So AUKUS, it was announced in September 2021, okay, as a strategy to engage more deeply with the Indo-Pacific to counter Beijing's assertiveness in the region. Now, if you will see over here that currently only 6 countries have nuclear fueled submarines, that is India, US, UK, France, Russia and China. ऑस्ट्रेलिया के पास जो है वो है 6 डीजल पावर्ड कॉलिन क्लास सबमरीन, okay, and it will be the 7th once the AUKUS fleet is deployed. So Canberra, it could acquire up to 5 Virginia class submarine from US in 2030s under AUKUS. The next is China's new cabinet hints at Xi's agenda for his third term. So यहाँ पर अगर आप देखेंगे Xi Jinping, he has started his third term as the president, okay, and then has been some recent appointment. For example, the new foreign minister is Qin Gang. Fine. So he was also named as the one of the 5 state councillors, which is the 3rd highest ranking position in the state council or cabinet. Fine. So Mr. Qin, he has formerly served as a protocol officer for Mr. Xi and was subsequently sent to Washington for his first ambassadorial posting. Then if you will see that he succeeds Wang Yi as both state councillor and foreign minister. So Mr. Wang, okay, was promoted to Politburo and he will head the Central Foreign Affairs Commission. Then if you will see that General Li Shangfu, okay, so he has been also appointed as the new defense minister of China. Fine. So General Li's promotion to Central Military Commission was done last year and now he is the defense minister. If you will see National Development and Reform Commission, okay, so Mr. His appointment was also expected as the previously running the National Development and Reform Commission, that is the top planning body of China. So friends, that's all for today. We will meet tomorrow again with a daily Hindu analysis. Till then, have a nice time. Take care. Thank you.